Hello and welcome back to Guided Souls. I'm your host, Katie, and I'm so excited to be back here for another week with you guys. If you prefer to watch instead of listen, you can head on over to my YouTube channel at Guided Soul Katie, and I will also link that below in the show notes. I'm super excited for this week's topic. This is something that is near and dear to my heart that I've actually explored a lot through and just haven't really spoken about it publicly anywhere, at least up until this point, but it's definitely something that I'm very passionate about. So, we are talking all about crystals today. And for me, this is like a similar level of passion to my mediumship abilities in that it gives me a feeling of such a deep connection to Mother Earth and this feeling of really being grounded and present in the moment. I'll say this until the cows come home, but I think so often with spirituality, we are trying to leave Earth, leave the 3D and go someplace else. And to me, crystals are a really beautiful symbol of being able to be spiritual and have that higher consciousness while also being grounded and present here in the 3D and here on Earth, because these crystals are from the earth, they're from Mother Earth. And so for me, it's just that really beautiful connection between spirituality, the divine, but also really being grounded and present in the moment. And so crystals have been transformative to my growth, my spiritual growth, and really gaining guidance from crystals and protection over the past year. And you may remember, if you've been listening to the pod since day one, early on I had a episode with Colleen, who is at Spiritualistic on TikTok, and I asked her about crystals because I was a total noob. I knew nothing about them, and I was just wanting some guidance on, okay, where do you start if you have never picked up a crystal, if you don't know how they work, like where do you start? And she had some really great tips that I was, really grateful for. And I think that kind of started my journey into crystals. And since then, it has really just taken off. So I wanted to take this opportunity to share with you guys what I've learned, some of the things that have been helpful for me. And if you are new to crystals, or even if you have crystals, but maybe you don't know, not that I know all there is to know about them, but some of the different properties and healing things that they have and different ways that you can choose them, this will hopefully be helpful to you. So there's so much information that I want to share, similar to my mediumship episodes, that I'm actually going to break this into 2 different episodes. So I'll do part 1 this week and part 2 next week, just because I'm going to throw a lot of information at you and I want to give you time to digest it and not have it just be like an overload of information. So this week, we are going to talk about how crystals work and how to choose crystals, which to me were like the 2 biggest things that I did not understand. Like, how do these things even work? And okay, where do I start? So, those are the 2 things we're going to talk about today. And then next week will be more about, once you have your crystals, what do you do? So we'll talk about how to cleanse your crystals, how to charge them, how to work with them, how to store them. And then I'll also probably give you a few just like short descriptions of different quote unquote starter crystals if you really don't know where to start and you're like, Katie, please just like tell me what to go get. I will give some short descriptions, but I also think that the information that I'm going to give in today's episode will really help you to make that decision on your own if you feel so inclined. So, to start off, we're going to talk about how crystals work. Now, I was definitely of the group and of the opinion that thought that crystals were just rocks and that people that had some sort of, spiritual connection to them or learned from them were crazy. I don't know if anyone else listening to this used to watch The Hills, but there's a couple on there that used to be on there, Heidi and Spencer, and they're kind of known for like going off the deep end and starting this crystal business, and they were seen as legitimately crazy. Now, to be fair, I think in a lot of ways they were. I think they did go off the deep end, and separately they started a crystal business. I don't think that the two things went together, but because they were like this crazy out there couple, and then they started a crystal business where the crystals they were selling, probably still selling, I don't know, like thousands and thousands of dollars. And I just thought, who is paying this much money for a rock, and who actually believes that this is working, not knowing that there's actual science behind it. And, maybe they just weren't the best representation of individuals who like to work with crystals. And it's become so much more mainstream nowadays. I know it's much more widely accepted than it used to be, but I just want to normalize the fact that I was part of that camp that was like, it's a rock, So like, hold your horses, because it's not really doing anything for you. But what I didn't realize, and what has since been explained to me and how I understand it now, and I'm not a scientist, so please, take it, just adjust what I'm saying to have a scientific lens over it. I'm not saying that this is 100% accurate. This is just layman's terms, how I understand it. Everything has energy. We are all made up of energy. Everything around you has energy. And we're made up of these vibrating strings of electricity. And so crystals are also made up of energy and these vibrating strings of electricity. And these vibrating strings, which are just vibes, are actually what we're able to pick up on in other people and other places. If you go to a party and you're like, the vibes were just off, or you meet someone and you're just like, something was weird about their vibe, or the opposite, you go somewhere and you're like, the vibe was so amazing, or you meet someone and you're like, I just love their vibe. It's like this sort of slang term that we have adopted, but really what it means is that you are picking up on someone else's energetic vibration and making a determination as to whether it's compatible with your own or not. That is what's happening when you are picking up on someone's vibes, and it's a very real thing. It doesn't have to be a certain thing that they say or do. You can just feel someone's energy and whether or not it is compatible with yours. And there is this concept known as entrainment, which is when one vibrational entity can impact the vibrational entity of something around it and alter its vibration to be synchronistic with its own. And this is what's happening when we are working with crystals. Crystals generally have a higher vibrational frequency than humans. And so when we hold them, when we meditate with them, we are entrained by that, and they are raising our energetic frequency to be synchronistic with theirs. Now, depending on the crystal, you may also be impacting the crystal's frequency, which is why it's important to cleanse and charge them, which we'll talk about next week. But just in terms of how they impact you, they are actually raising your vibrational frequency just by you holding them and working with them. And you may have heard people, maybe even me, say, you want to raise your frequency, and what does that even mean? It's vibrating, literally vibrating at a frequency that is higher, and you're able to tap into more spiritual gifts. You're able to sort of transcend the everyday stressors and behaviors that so many of us humans try to avoid so often, and really be in this place of not being above it all, because that's not how I see it, but it's almost like being so stable and grounded and centered in your own energy that something that is a lower vibrational energy is not going to impact you because you are vibrating at your own higher frequency. And this can truly help you both emotionally and physically to live a more positive, healthy, and happy life. And when I discovered that there was actual science behind how crystals work, it blew my mind. And to me, I had just, come to the, I guess, opinion or decision that the way that crystals work for me is they're my connection to Mother Earth, and it helps me feel grounded and centered. And that is true. But also, there's this science behind it where they are literally vibrating with this energetic frequency, and they are able to impact ours just by us being around them and holding them and working with them. So I thought that that was really beautiful. I thought that that was really cool. And it took a while for that to be explained to me in that way. And so I figured maybe other people listening to this hadn't necessarily had that explanation either, and that it may be helpful for you to think of it in a different way. Because for me, I'm obsessed with Mother Earth. You guys know that. I love nature. I love Earth. I love all of those things. So that was kind of enough for me just to feel like, oh, I'm, connected to this piece of Earth that was sourced from Madagascar. Like, how cool is that? But beyond that, there is actual science behind how that works. And I just thought that that was really interesting and wanted to share it with you guys. So now that you are hooked because you know how crystals work, let's talk about how you choose which crystal to purchase for yourself. There are so many crystals out there. It can be very overwhelming. You don't really know where to start, and that is totally understandable. So I'm just going to give you some different ways that you can approach deciding which crystal is right for you. You can use all of them. You can use one of them. You can use none of them. But I will say, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, your intuition is going to be your most powerful tool when it comes to deciding what crystal is right for you. So the first way that you can choose what crystal to get is the most obvious way. So I won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but it's its different healing properties, its strengths. What is its purpose? What is it, known to give to humans? So every crystal has its own specific healing properties and strengths. And this can be a really excellent place to start if you know that there is a specific area of your life that you are looking for help in, or that you want to balance out, or that you want to amplify or release. If there's already something that you are focused on, looking for a crystal that matches with those things that you are focused on is a wonderful place to start. And this definitely changes depending on what you're going through. And it's kind of funny. I'll give you a couple examples of crystals that I've gotten at different times in the past year. The first one that I got was moldavite, which is a much more rare, powerful crystal than I thought. And the reason I got it is because it's known to help you raise your vibrational frequency. And that was something that I was really focused on, was, getting out of this lower vibrational state. And so that was the first crystal I got. And looking back is a little funny because you read these articles and it's like, be careful, like touching moldavite for the first time, because some people will have this like very overwhelming, strong reaction to it because it is such a strong crystal. And I'm like, of course I would pick that as the first crystal that I got. Is just like, yeah, full send. Let's get the most powerful one. Not saying it's the most powerful one, but it is known to be a very energetically strong and sometimes overwhelming crystal. And that is the first one I got, which I just think is funny. And so just me coded that I would do something like that. But I loved it. I actually got it in the form of a necklace and wore it a lot. And I did feel like it helped me to raise my vibrational frequency. I also later got moonstone to help enhance my feminine energy when I was really working on surrendering and attracting opportunities instead of chasing them. And then right now, I am working with my selenite crystal basically daily to help cleanse me of any negative energy, to help protect me, and to help me stay grounded, centered, and focused. I actually feel like I'm very much tunnel vision on what I'm trying to achieve right now, but there is a lot going on around me. And so having that daily cleanse of negative energy through selenite has been incredibly helpful for me. So pretty self-explanatory. You can look for a crystal that has healing properties that are aligned with what it is that you are trying to cultivate or achieve or bring more of your life in, bring more of into your life. And the second way, which is just kind of a cool, I didn't realize that this was a thing, but depending on the color of the crystal, it will have a different purpose or healing property. And, there are some crystals, such as moonstone, that have different colors. And you can Google, like, what does peach moonstone mean versus black moonstone? And you'll find different articles about it, but it's kind of cool just to know in general what the different colors mean, because then if you are in a crystal shop or even looking online and you have the choice between these two different colors, you can say, oh, I'm going to go with the black one over the peach one because the black one is going to help give me protection while I'm looking, inwards at my shadow self, something like that. So I'm just going to run you through what the different colors mean. I'm going to talk about chakras in a little bit, so you will notice some overlap with the different colors and the associated chakra with those colors. And it's just another tool that can help you refine your decision when you are deciding on what crystal to get. So crystals that are black and or gray are known to be grounding, to give you protection, safety, security. They're really good for your unconscious mind, looking at the unknown and your shadow self. So it's really, really great for exploring your shadow self in a way that feels protected and safe. I especially recommend some black crystals for people who are grieving, because it can help you really explore that grief while also feeling grounded and present and protected in the present moment, because going to those depths can be really scary. And so having that sense of protection over you as you explore your grief can be really helpful. Blue is also associated with the throat chakra. So it is known for truth, wisdom, loyalty, listening, throat, self-expression, creativity, and surrendering. And it really is good for communication and anytime you are trying to work on expressing yourself, as well as receiving the expression of other people as well. Brown is connected to worldliness, earth, nature, and grounding. Green has a lot of different meanings, so it's pretty versatile, but part of the reason why it has a few different ones is because it's connected to the heart chakra, but it's also connected to money and prosperity. So different meanings behind green crystals could be love, the heart, financial, wealth, forgiveness, compassion, kindness, as well as change and growth. Orange or peach crystals are known to help with identity, ego, integrity, relationships, community. It can really help ease social anxiety and help you step into your authentic truth within a broader community. Pink is connected to compassion, kindness, forgiveness, unconditional love, and romantic love. Rose quartz is an excellent example of a pink crystal that falls in line with that. Red is connected to passion, grounding, stamina, and stability. Purple is connected to spiritualness, spirituality, divinity, intuition, your higher self, intellect, reason, healing, loyalty, and devotion. White or clear crystals are connected to new beginnings, divinity, purity, peace, and connection to higher realms. And lastly, yellow and or gold crystals are connected to self-worth, self-esteem, self-love, and self-identity. So not necessarily something that you have to know off the top of your head, but again, if you're in between two different types of crystals or colors of the same type of crystal, such as moonstone, this can help you direct yourself towards which one feels more aligned with you. The next thing I'm going to talk about is lattice structure. This is something that I knew nothing about. So each crystal is part of a crystal system that has certain properties that will impact its purpose. And so I believe it has to do with like its crystalline structure and the different types that there are and the impact that that has on the purpose or, what you would benefit from that crystal. So this is not necessarily something that you're going to be able to see and tell, but a quick Google search on either what crystal system or the lattice structure, those are the two ways that I've heard it described, will easily help you figure out what crystal system a crystal would fall into. So hexagonal crystals are great for manifesting. Isometric crystals improve situations and amplify energy. Monoclinic crystals protect and safeguard. Orthorhombic crystals cleanse, clear, unblock, and release. Tetragonal crystals attract. Triclinic crystals contain or ward off energies. And amorphous crystals have different properties. That's a kind of a catch-all term for crystals that are not actually crystals. They are stones and they don't have that crystalline structure, but they still fall into the broader crystal category and realm because they have many different healing properties that individuals work with. So this may not be the first place that you run to in terms of deciding what crystal to select. However, if you are very focused on one specific area of your life and you just want to see, what crystals there are to help you manifest, you can look up crystals with a hexagonal structure. If you are really wanting to attract specific energies, then you can look for crystals with a tetragonal structure. So again, just another thing to have in your tool belt. And it's also just kind of interesting to know if you already have a crystal or you know that you're getting a crystal, to just know what its crystal system is. And that can help you get to know it a little bit better too, because in addition to just choosing crystals, you want to get to know them and what they have to offer, what they want to offer you. And their crystal system definitely plays into that. And the next thing that we're going to talk about in terms of how to choose crystals are chakras and how the crystals can impact your different chakras. So chakras are energy centers in your body. There's 7 of them inside your body, and they basically connect your body to the energy of your mind and spirit. And having them balanced is a huge benefit and honestly necessity to living a happy, healthy life that's in alignment with your authentic self. And whenever you're out of balance, that can lead to physical health issues, emotional health issues, and really just feeling off-centered and not yourself. So anything you can do to help balance your chakras is going to help you incredibly. It's why so many people do energy work and see Reiki masters and all these sound healing different modalities, and crystals are just another one of those things that you can do on your own to help balance your chakras. So what you can do is you can place crystals on certain chakras to help you balance that energy. And there are crystals that are connected to specific chakras. So every crystal is going to have one or more chakra that it is connected to. Some you will see some overlap based on what color they are, but it doesn't always have to be connected to the color. Like a brown crystal doesn't have a chakra that it's connected to, so that's not going to be the case. And there are some crystals that are meant to align all of the chakras. So just another thing in your tool belt that you can know about your crystal and can help you decide what crystal you want to choose. So I'm just going to give a super brief explanation of the seven chakras. And if you feel like there is one of those areas that feels unbalanced or that you want to give more energy to, that would be a good place to start in determining what crystal you want to get for yourself. So the root chakra is connected with safety and security. Your sacral chakra is connected to prosperity, personal power, and creativity. Your solar plexus is representative of self-esteem and boundaries. Your heart is connected to compassion, kindness, unconditional love, and forgiveness. Your throat is connected to speaking your truth and surrendering to divine will. Your third eye is connected to your intuition and intellect. And your crown chakra is connected to your higher self and connection to the divine. Now, everything that I just said can be ignored if you just listen to your intuition. And I'm not saying that you should only listen to your intuition ever, but if you are being called to a certain crystal, if you feel drawn to a certain crystal, if you just know that you're meant to get a certain crystal, you don't have to look into what its healing properties are, what its crystal system is. That's kind of an after the fact thing once you've gotten that crystal, because your intuition will not lead you astray. And every crystal that I've gotten so far has been one of those things where I've actually heard it mentioned by someone and my intuition just went, we need to get that crystal. And then I did, and then I learned more about it. So just like everything else in life, you can let your intuition be the driving force in this. And you can kind of use these other things as backup if you'd like, but there does not have to be a rhyme or reason to it when it comes to your intuition. If you are feeling drawn to a certain crystal, just be curious about it. Get it if you feel drawn to, and then just discover and explore what it has to teach you because you're being drawn to it for a reason. I have gotten some questions about whether it's best to shop for crystals online or in person. I don't think that one is better than the other. I think that they both have their pros and cons, and some individuals are just going to be naturally drawn to one more than others. For me, I love buying things online. I love online shopping. I don't love going into physical stores anymore. And for me, usually I have a specific crystal in mind that I want to get. And I usually think of it at a time where a crystal shop is not open or I don't have time to go to a crystal shop. So for me, honestly, it's a thing of convenience to be able to shop online. I can also do a little bit more research that way. I can make sure that I am buying from someone who is ethically sourcing their crystals, which I'll talk about in a moment. And you can honestly get, not always, but a lot of times there will be crystals online that are maybe sourced from more just unique places than what would be in your local crystal shop. Again, not always. Some crystal shops are incredible and they source from all over the world, and that is amazing. But if you have a specific crystal in mind that you want to make sure you can get that crystal, it may be beneficial for you to look online. However, shopping in person is really great if you want to just let your intuition guide you, because you can just walk in and see where your eye goes, see what crystal you feel like you want to pick up, what you're drawn to, and really just go by your intuition without researching or looking up anything else. And you can just feel it and be curious about how it feels in your hand, how it's making your body feel. And once you've kind of honed in on a crystal that you're drawn to, you can also ask questions because the shop owner is right there. You can ask them about where it was sourced from. You can ask them about its different healing properties and get to know it a little bit more in person as you're holding it and really lean on your intuition in that way. I will say, if you are highly susceptible to other people's energies or other places' energies or anything like that, just be mindful that these shops have a lot of energy in them. And so it's important to go on a day where you feel grounded and centered. You may feel overwhelmed walking into there, and just honor your experience that if it's not feeling right to you, that you can either come back a different day, or maybe you decide shopping online makes more sense for you in the moment. It just something to be aware of. It's not something to discourage you, but if you're already feeling kind of like frantic or scattered on a certain day, that is not the day that I would go into a crystal shop, because you are going to be susceptible to a lot of energies while you're in there. There's also two kind of main categories of crystals, like types of crystals that you can buy: polished versus raw. You'll also see this described as tumbled versus natural. So polished and tumbled basically just means that they were smoothed or altered by humans in some way. And then raw or natural just means that it's the raw crystal. It hasn't been altered or anything like that in any way. And I actually really don't think that one is better than the other. They are just different. It has been said that polished or tumbled crystals tend to have a gentler energy, where natural and raw crystals tend to be a bit more powerful and overt. And they both have their strengths and weaknesses, and some people may need a gentler stone and don't necessarily want a crystal in its raw form, while other people may say, no, I want it in its raw form, and I want to, feel all of the energy that it has to offer. For me, for this specific category, I tend to just go off of my intuition. I tend not to overthink it. If I'm drawn to a specific crystal, whether it's polished or raw, I will just trust that I am meant to have that level of energy from that crystal. And I really try not to overthink it, because at the end of the day, it's going to have the same type of energy, and you're going to end up with whichever one is most appropriate for you, especially if you just go towards whatever you're drawn to. And the last thing that I will talk about today, because I know this is so much information, so thank you for bearing with me, is ethical sourcing. It is so important to know where your crystals are coming from and if they were ethically sourced. The last thing that you want is this beautiful crystal that is meant to bring you so much healing and peace, while you don't know that actually it was not ethically sourced, and there are not great circumstances for the people who source them as well. So this is something that can be sort of difficult to discover whether something was ethically sourced or not. But the two main things that I go by is, number one, if you don't know at all where it was sourced from, that is not a good sign. They should at least be able to tell you what country a crystal is from. If not more granular than that, at least the country. And number two, if it's ethically sourced, most places will say it's ethically sourced. If it doesn't say it, why would it not say it? It's kind of like if a company went to the trouble of making a vegan product and then just didn't state that it was vegan. that doesn't really make sense. So your first tip is just to make sure that you know what country it came from. And then honestly, I would really try to stick to vendors that will specifically say these were ethically sourced, because if they are ethically sourced, why would they not promote it? That's my way of thinking of it. Maybe there's a lot of, stores out there that I'm passing on because it doesn't say ethical sourcing, but I'm always wary of those, crystals that just cost like $4. You're just like, how is this possible? Where did this come from? Who sourced this? Why is this so cheap? I know it's tempting to go for the least expensive thing, in any certain industry, but there's a reason that fast fashion is so inexpensive, and it crosses industries, including the crystal industry. So just be smart, do your research, ask questions, and if something isn't clear, it probably means that the circumstances around it being sourced were less than ethical in some way. So I will leave it at that. I know that was so much info. My mouth is like dry from talking that much, but I am so passionate about this topic. It has helped me so much, and I just want to share that with people. So I hope that this can help you on your crystal journey and maybe inspire you to do a little bit of perusing. And then next week, when we come back, I'm going to talk about how to cleanse your crystals, how to charge them, different ways that you can work with them, how to store them, and then we may go over some short crystal descriptions of some of the more common crystals if you really don't know where to start. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. And I love it when you guys let me know if you like a certain episode or not. I mean, yeah, you can tell me if you don't like an episode, but especially if you like it, I love hearing that too. You can email me at guidedsoulllc@gmail.com. And until next time, keep going. You are doing amazing, and I love you.